In a world where discoveries shape destinies and courage defines legacies, few names shine as brightly as Marie Curie. She was not just a scientist. She was a pioneer who dared to challenge the limits of knowledge and the boundaries of society itself. At a time when women were often confined to the shadows of opportunity, she stood in the light of her own determination. Her life was marked by brilliance, sacrifice, and an unwavering quest for truth. What she achieved was not only revolutionary in science, but also transformative for humanity. The story you're about to hear is not simply about the discovery of radioactivity, or about the awards and honors that followed. It is about resilience in the face of prejudice, strength born of loss, and vision that illuminated the darkest of times. This is the inspiring journey of Marie Curie, a woman who turned invisible rays into a beacon of hope for the world. Maria Skłodowska, who the world would one day know as Marie Curie, was born in Warsaw in 1867, in a Poland still struggling under foreign domination. Her childhood was not one of privilege, but rather of quiet resilience. She was the youngest of 5 children in a family marked by intellectual curiosity and hardship. Her father, a teacher of mathematics and physics, instilled in her a fascination with numbers, patterns, and the unseen laws governing the natural world. Yet, her early years were shadowed by loss and adversity. When she was only 10 years old, her mother died of tuberculosis, a tragedy that left a deep mark on her tender spirit in her home. Books and ideas were as precious as bread, and despite financial struggles, her father cultivated an atmosphere of learning. The Skłodowska children were encouraged to question, to read, to dream beyond the limits imposed on them by their occupied homeland. But for Maria, a girl in a world that did not easily welcome women into academia, dreams required not only effort, but also defiance. Education in Poland was limited, especially for women. Yet Maria found her way into clandestine institutions, known as the Flying University, an underground network dedicated to educating those excluded by official systems. There, she encountered radical ideas, scientific theories, and a community of minds refusing to be silenced by oppression. The Flying University became not just a place of learning, but a symbol of resistance. For Maria, it was a doorway to a future where knowledge was her weapon and her shield. Her love for science was growing, but she was equally aware of her family's struggles. Financial hardship meant choices had to be made. Maria worked as a governess to support her sister's education, suppressing her own yearning for study while enabling her sister to pursue a medical degree in Paris. For years, she balanced duty and ambition, teaching others while her own notebooks filled with carefully written observations, formulas, and questions about the nature of matter. It was during these years of sacrifice that her determination was forged. Her dream was not abandoned, only delayed. Finally, in 1891, at the age of 24, Maria boarded a train to Paris, where the City of Light was also the city of learning. She arrived with little money, modest belongings, and a heart overflowing with ambition. She would become Marie Curie, the name by which the world would remember her. But before that transformation, she would endure bitter winters in unheated rooms, survive on bread and tea, and often faint from hunger as she immersed herself in studies at the Sorbonne. In those harsh conditions, her resilience became as fundamental to her being as the laws of physics she studied. Her journey into science had begun, and it would soon alter the course of history. Arriving in Paris marked not the end of hardship for Marie, but the beginning of an even greater test. The Sorbonne was a sanctuary of knowledge, yet for a young woman from Poland, it was also a battlefield of endurance. She studied with relentless focus, often wrapped in layers of clothing against the cold, bent over textbooks until the candles burned out. Despite her poverty, her brilliance became undeniable. In 1893, she earned a degree in physics, finishing first in her class, and soon after, she completed a degree in mathematics, an achievement rare even among men at the time. Her academic journey brought her into the orbit of Pierre Curie, a quiet, introspective physicist whose life, like hers, revolved around discovery. Pierre was known for his groundbreaking work on crystals and magnetism, but more than that, he shared Marie's reverence for science as a calling rather than a career. Their meeting was less a chance encounter than the alignment of two destinies. Together, they formed not only a partnership in love, but in intellectual pursuit, a rare union where minds and hearts were equally matched. Their marriage in 1895 was modest, devoid of pomp, yet filled with promise. Instead of jewels, Marie chose to wear a simple blue dress, one she could also use in her laboratory. They spent their honeymoon cycling through the French countryside, dreaming of the work that awaited them. What united them was not wealth or social standing, but the pursuit of truth through science. The Curies established their laboratory in a drafty shed once used as a medical school dissection room. Conditions were rudimentary: no heating, poor ventilation, and crude equipment. Yet, within those walls, they began the work that would change the world. It was here that Marie, inspired by the discoveries of Wilhelm Röntgen and Henri Becquerel, pursued the mysterious phenomenon of rays emitted from uranium salts. She coined the term radioactivity, setting the stage for one of the most transformative scientific journeys in history. Her determination was relentless. She processed tons of pitchblende, a uranium-rich, ore in search of unknown elements. Day after day, she stirred boiling cauldrons, lifted heavy containers, and inhaled toxic fumes. Her body exposed to dangers not yet understood. The work was grueling and dangerous, but for Marie, discovery was worth every sacrifice. Her notebooks, her calculations, and her unwavering focus carried her through endless hours of labor. Alongside Pierre, she stood on the edge of revelation, about to unveil mysteries hidden deep within matter itself. By 1898, Marie and Pierre were immersed in experiments that pushed the limits of what anyone thought possible. Their dedication bore fruit when Marie identified an element unlike any known substance, far more radioactive than uranium. She named it polonium, in honor of her beloved Poland, a homeland still yearning for independence. It was an act not only of scientific triumph, but of patriotic devotion, embedding her identity into the very language of science. But polonium was only the beginning. Continuing their painstaking separation of pitchblende, the Curies unveiled another element with astonishing properties. They called it radium, from the Latin word for ray, because of its intense glow and radiation. The discovery was revolutionary. Radium shone with a bluish light, a silent testament to forces within atoms that no one had fully comprehended before. The invisible had become visible, and humanity's understanding of matter was forever changed. The world was fascinated. Newspapers wrote of the glowing substance and the brilliant woman behind its discovery. Marie Curie had not only introduced new elements to the periodic table, but had also redefined the landscape of physics and chemistry. For the first time, a woman was at the forefront of scientific discovery, commanding recognition that transcended the boundaries of gender. Yet the labor came at a great cost. The Curies worked in exhausting conditions, unaware of the dangers of prolonged radiation exposure. Their skin burned, their bodies weakened, but they pressed on, driven by a vision greater than themselves. In 1903, their efforts were recognized when Marie, Pierre, and Henri Becquerel were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. Marie Curie became the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize, a milestone that reverberated across the world. For Marie, however, the Nobel Prize was not an end, but a step. She continued to refine her research, to expand the applications of radioactivity, and to mentor others who would carry the work forward. Fame did not distract her. Rather, it deepened her sense of responsibility. She had uncovered forces hidden in the heart of matter, and she was determined to harness them for the benefit of humanity. The years following the Nobel Prize were filled with both triumph and tragedy. Recognition brought lectures, honors, and opportunities, but it also introduced scrutiny and the strain of public life. Marie was a woman navigating a world still hesitant to accept her presence in its highest scientific circles. Invitations were extended, yet whispers followed her. Her brilliance could not be denied, but her gender was still seen by some as an anomaly in the halls of science. Through it all, Pierre remained her steadfast partner. They worked side by side, sharing both discovery and the burden of relentless labor. Yet fate struck a cruel blow in 1906 when Pierre was killed in a tragic accident. Struck by a horse-drawn carriage on a rainy Paris street, his death shattered Marie's world. Suddenly, she was not only a widow, but a single mother to two young daughters. Irene and Eve left to reconcile personal grief with professional duty. Grief did not extinguish her spirit, though it left scars that never healed. With courage, she stepped into Pierre's vacant professorship at the Sorbonne, becoming the first woman to hold such a position. She stood before students in the same lecture halls where she once sat as an impoverished scholar, now a pioneer shaping the future of science. Her voice carried both authority and quiet resilience, an unspoken message that loss could bend but not break her. Marie dedicated herself even more intensely to her research. Channeling sorrow into purpose, she continued her work on radioactivity, pushing boundaries and opening doors to medical applications that would one day save countless lives. Though the glow of radium fascinated the world, Marie's vision went beyond wonder. She imagined a future where science could alleviate suffering, where the rays extracted from the depths of matter could become tools of healing. In the silence of her laboratory, grief became resilience, and resilience became discovery once more. In 1911, the world once again recognized Marie Curie's unparalleled contributions to science. She was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for her discovery of polonium and radium, making her the first person in history to receive 2 Nobel Prizes in different scientific fields. This extraordinary achievement cemented her place not only as a trailblazer for women, but as one of the greatest scientific minds of all time. The award did not come without challenges. Rumors and criticisms swirled around her personal life, with detractors eager to diminish her accomplishments by focusing on scandals and doubts. Yet Marie stood resolute, refusing to let prejudice or gossip define her legacy. She let her work speak for itself, and her work was undeniable. She had uncovered the mysteries of atoms and given humanity new tools to explore and to heal. Her influence spread far beyond France. She inspired generations of scientists, particularly women, who saw in her a mirror of possibility. She established the Radium Institute in Paris, a center that would become a cradle of medical and scientific advancement. Her dedication to training others ensured that the torch of discovery did not end with her, but was passed on to those who followed. During World War I, Marie did not retreat into the safety of her laboratory. Instead, she took her knowledge directly to the front line. She developed mobile X-ray units, affectionately known as Little Curies, and personally trained medical staff to use them. These machines brought light into the darkness of war, allowing surgeons to see inside wounded soldiers and save countless lives. Marie herself drove into battle zones, risking her safety in service of humanity. For her, science was not detached from life. It was its protector. Her second Nobel Prize was not just a personal triumph, but a beacon that illuminated the path for future generations. It proved that resilience and brilliance could triumph over prejudice, and that even in the face of tragedy, one could rise again and again, leaving a legacy that spanned continents and decades. As the years advanced, Marie Curie's legacy continued to grow. The Radium Institute became a hub for pioneering research, drawing some of the brightest minds in science. Among them was her daughter Iran, who, together with her husband, Frederick Joliot Curie, would later win a Nobel Prize of their own. Continuing the Curie tradition of discovery, through Irene, Marie's passion and intellect lived on, a family legacy written in the language of atoms and energy. Despite her monumental achievements, Marie remained humble and devoted to her mission. She never sought wealth or luxury. In fact, she refused to patent the process of isolating radium, believing that knowledge belonged to all of humanity, not to one individual or corporation. Her vision was larger than personal gain. She saw science as a shared treasure, a universal right. The years of exposure to radiation, however, began to take their toll. The brilliance of radium came at a hidden cost, one that neither she nor her contemporaries fully understood. Marie suffered from fatigue, weakness, and declining health, but she never complained. She worked until her final days, driven not by fame or recognition, but by an insatiable quest to understand and to help. Even as her body weakened, her spirit remained unyielding. She traveled, lectured, and advocated for science education, particularly for women. Her name became synonymous with courage, discovery, and sacrifice. In 1934, Marie Curie passed away from aplastic anemia, a condition linked to prolonged radiation exposure. She was 66 years old. Her passing marked the end of a life, but not the end of her influence. Her work had seeded entire fields of research, from nuclear physics to medical therapies that continue to save lives today. Marie Curie's notebooks, still preserved in Paris, remain so radioactive that they must be stored in lead-lined boxes. They are silent witnesses to the intensity of her devotion and the unseen risks she bore in the pursuit of knowledge. They remind us that her discoveries were not abstract triumphs, but lived sacrifices, carried out with her own hands in unrelenting pursuit of truth. The legacy of Marie Curie is far greater than the discoveries of polonium and radium. Her influence reaches into every corner of science, medicine, and society. She changed not only what humanity knew about the atom, but also how it approached the possibilities of research. She broke barriers that had long confined women, proving that intellect and perseverance could overcome even the most entrenched prejudices. Her life story continues to inspire. Generations of women scientists cite her as the figure who made their own journeys possible. She opened doors that had been sealed shut, not only by scientific ignorance, but by cultural constraints. The image of a woman in a cold, dim laboratory, stirring heavy cauldrons and recording data with unwavering concentration, remains one of the most enduring symbols of determination. The applications of her discoveries extend far beyond her time. The medical use of radiation transformed the treatment of cancer, bringing hope where once there was only despair. Nuclear research, for all its controversies, owes much to her early investigations into the hidden energies of matter. Her insistence that science must serve humanity set a moral compass still relevant today. Marie Curie's name has become eternal. She is remembered not merely as a scientist, but as a visionary whose courage lit the way for countless others. Schools, institutes, and awards carry her name, each a reminder of the standard she set. Her story is a testament to what can be achieved when knowledge is pursued with integrity, when hardship is met with resilience, and when the invisible forces of the universe are uncovered by the visible strength of human spirit. The story of Marie Curie is more than the account of a brilliant scientist. It is the story of a life lived in service of truth, a reminder that discovery often requires sacrifice, and that the pursuit of knowledge can change the destiny of humanity. She showed the world that barriers are meant to be broken, that resilience can transform grief into purpose, and that one person's vision can ripple across generations. Her discoveries gave humanity the ability to see within the body, to treat disease, and to glimpse the hidden energies that bind the universe together. Yet her greatest legacy is not simply scientific, it is human. It is the courage to continue when the world says stop, the humility to share knowledge freely, and the conviction that science must always serve life. Today, her name stands as a beacon of inspiration. Marie Curie proved that greatness is not defined by circumstance, but by choice, by will, and by an unshakable belief in the power of the human spirit. Her story calls us to look beyond obstacles, to see possibility where others see impossibility, and to dedicate our gifts to something greater than ourselves. As we close this journey into her life, let us carry forward her lesson that, with passion, perseverance, and purpose, we too can illuminate the darkness. Leave a comment below sharing where you are watching from and what part of Marie Curie's story inspired you most. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so together we can continue exploring stories that remind us of the strength within us all.